All right, it's now time for the second session. The second session focuses on the interactions between the New Nordics region and the Gulf region. And I'm very glad to give here the word to the moderator, AUG. Please.
Thank you, Sven. When Jaanus asked less than a year ago into kind of ideation discussions, okay, what could we bring to this conference as part of actually the whole week, then I actually tested this initial idea that while we just saw that we in the Nordic and Baltic region, we're very nice people. We say that, well, Estonia does the best thing, and then we say that, oh, Finland is even slightly better, and then Latvians say, well, actually, we like all of you, and then we hug, and then we kind of say those courtesies to each other. And this is true. I think we can be proud of what we have all achieved in the domain of digital health, but also that our healthcare systems are something that many people in the world envy. But we also know that all our healthcare systems are under huge stress and challenges. So many of those things that have brought us here will not take us further from here, as one of our former presidents once said. And I have had the luxury and honor to little bit get to know what is happening in another part of the world, known as Arab Peninsula or GCC, as kind of formally very often mentioned. Actually, this also denotes not yet quite like an EU-like collaboration, but still a lot of cross-border collaboration between the countries that are there. So we discussed that maybe this is also one way to kind of open the horizon for all of us and start building bridges, learn, bring some new horizons, and maybe get a little bit of kind of a positive kick that we want to move faster because there are partners and colleagues who actually are as enthusiastic in their transformation as I remember we were in Estonia 10 years ago. So that is why this session is here. I will do less talking, more moderating. And we have set it up in such a way that first we will hear from Dr. Khulood ALSAYEGH from the Abu Dhabi, from the United Arab Emirates, really kind of setting the scene. But before Dr. Khulood will prime you, please raise hands who has been in any of the GCC countries, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman. Just raise your hand. Thank you. About 40%. So the next is, how many of you have been there more than just a tourist? Okay, so we are seeing some progress. And now, please, those of you who have been there more than just a tourist, raise your hand if you say that it has been positive and inspiring experience, and you would invite all the others who have not yet been there to join you next time you go there. I think that was 100%. So, Khulood, I think that now you know that there are at least some people who already feel favorable, but you saw that they are in a minority. So I hope that once you have done your presentation, all of them will start booking tickets, and at least half of them will line up for you and to make some arrangements for next meeting. So no pressure, but I know that this will be a very inspiring story that we're going to hear from you. So please. And once you come on the stage, I will just say really a few words. Dr. Khulood, I know her from the time we met. I think that was one embassy event. And it was very warm to hear that you already had developed kind of positive attitude towards what we've been doing here. Of course, Estonians very often think that what the others think of us. So, but I also noticed that the pride and enthusiasm to share what you have been doing and also find ways how to do things together. Dr. Khulood is advisor at the ministry in Abu Dhabi, but also working at the federal level. She knows what the AI can and is doing. We read from the news that it's kind of a human right, or at least every citizen anyway has to have access to AI. We're going to hear if that is the true. And you have worked in both in the public sector, developing policies, seeing the challenges, how that is, but also kind of leading this transformation. So that I hope that we will hear at least a bit of that from your discussion right now, and then hopefully those questions that remain unanswered we can cover in the discussion later on. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can I use this?
Sorry, there was one slide I wanted to show to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those of you who have been there might know this. The population is twice as large as in the region. The total GDP is approximately the same size, around $2 trillion US. But the population is growing, the GDP is growing, and healthcare spending is also something that has potential to grow. And Khulood will probably elaborate how is that going to be. But pay attention to this one here. Oh. That was me. Hello, Walid. Actually, I was about to introduce you slightly later, but I pressed the wrong button. So this was sneak peek, so you're going to see him soon. Don't worry. This is the right button. So Saudi Arabia, UAE, 2020-2022. GovTech Maturity Index. See the speed, right? What does AI stand for? Emerging market. So we are clustered here together. Okay, the Nordics and Baltics are slightly higher. We're around 0.9 here. But that is why I thought to have really close attention to what is happening there is important. And, well, there are certain things. We have digital infrastructure for AI, which is slightly ahead. But again, remember this one. This train is moving very fast. So hopefully we can hop on the same train and then take the journey together. And now, sorry, this is where I thought that you can follow and tell where this train is leading us.
Hello, everyone. Hey, tere, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. It's my first time in Estonia. I am from Dubai, the UAE, the country with the tallest tower in the world, the 8th wonder of the world, having the Palm Island. And you're all welcome to come and visit us, whether as a tourist or as an investor or interested in technologies. I'm going to shed the light on what's happening, in particular in Dubai, but we're going to go over a spread of different infrastructures in the UAE, the economy system in the UAE, the medical tourism, and what's happening within the AI. I have the privilege of sitting on the federal body, which is a UAE-level body, to actually document and write the very first AI regulations in healthcare. I also work with the IEEE as an AI ethical lead assessor, so I assess AI tools when it comes to healthcare. And I work as a global advisor supporting different enterprises such as Estonia. I would like to start the phrase with our leader. And these are a few phrases that he has said. I want Dubai to be #1, not in the region, but in the world. And it's always about #1, how we can lead in different sectors, not just in healthcare. I want to be the #1 in everything: higher education, health, and housing. And talking about AI, in Dubai, we've implemented AI education at all educational levels in schools, so it's been taught and mandated in all curriculums. I want to give my people the highest way of living. And here we're focusing on longevity, long-term care, gene therapy, stem cell therapy, and obviously innovation. So just a global hub when it comes to Dubai. We are at a strategic location between Europe, Africa, and Asia. We want to have that balance. We don't want to over-regulate or under-regulate. We want to open up to innovation. I like to think of Dubai as like a little startup. We learn of what had happened in the US, for example, and see what we can do to improvise and improve, and then move forward very fast. We are about 44.1% population growth since 10 years. It's a hub where we live together in harmony from all around the world. So in the UAE, or actually in Dubai, we're about 3.4 million, 11.8 million in the whole of the UAE, and that's residents in the country, as local Emiratis who live there, people that visit and find UAE as home, are living with us. So we have over, I don't know, maybe something like 80 different nationalities that live together with us. Today, I'm going to be speaking about the healthcare infrastructure. I'm going to be speaking about the healthcare expenditure, health tourism, health information system, AI in healthcare, and future shaping and investment opportunities for you. So when it comes to the healthcare infrastructure, I would like to start with the main strategic projects. And the reason why I'm starting with the slides here is for you to come to a market like the UAE, it's the timing that matters. So if the main strategy and the concept that we're looking around, for example, is mental well-being, that's the time you come in the market, not 3-4 years later, not 3-4 years earlier. And our projects, if you look, we're looking into the healthcare outcomes of pioneering healthcare lifestyle and focusing a lot on the prevention. If you look at number 8, become a global digital health hub. And that's an area of interest at the moment. How can we bring that together and increase innovation within the healthcare sector? As well as number 9, where we're fostering a lot of research. Research is still in its infancy when it comes to the healthcare system in the UAE, and it's something that we want to grow and collaborate. And in the UAE, we have different federal bodies regulating the UAE. So we have the Ministry of Health, which regulates the whole of the UAE. Then we have Dubai Health Authority, where I work, regulates the Dubai healthcare system, and then we have the Abu Dhabi healthcare system. So we do have different regulations, but they work together in harmony. We align with each other, so it doesn't, not everyone do their own thing, but we kind of work together. And a lot of what we're doing is in collaboration with the private sector, and then a lot of the academic institutions, like, for example, universities, in order to foster and encourage research. So the UAE is among the top 10 worldwide countries in healthy lifespan. We have increased about 8% in the contribution of healthcare sector, so the emerging GDP to reach about 8%, 92% on customer happiness, 3% on spending on prevention program, and I think that's a very small figure because the preventive measure have came a bit later, so that 3% is actually an increase that we have improvised over the last 3-4 years to focus more on the preventive program. And 70% a lot on virtual healthcare, which has started in the pandemic as, I would like to say, a switch on or switch off button. So make sure you are telehealth ready. You're able to move into a virtual healthcare. If things go wrong, that's how it started. Now it's mandated. Now it's a hybrid model that everybody has to implement virtual healthcare. And it should be part of the patient's journey. So almost 70% of our healthcare facilities are providing healthcare models in terms of virtual and in-person. 70% percentage of health facilities achieve value-based healthcare, so that's a lot of focus when it comes to preventive medicine. 6% Emiratization in the health sector, ensuring there's a lot of the local people that are involved in the healthcare sector. It's not just foreigner investment, but a lot of the Emiratis being involved in there. 3% health tourists out of the total number of tourists in Dubai, and 3 times increase in the number of medical studies and research. Health facilities growth. In 2011, we had about 2,000 health facilities. When I say health facilities, we're talking about everything, hospitals, clinics, labs, up to almost 5,336 in 2024. And if you look at the pie chart, you'd recognize that the majority are in the private sector. So a lot of the healthcare infrastructure is mainly driven by the private sector, and a small portion is on the Dubai Health Facilities, which is in the government sector. And that's the area where initially is collaborating with the research centers, and now we're encouraging all the private sector to involve and provide programs in terms, for example, internship, residency programs, and research with the universities. So that's about a 92.3% growth in over 10 years. Health facilities subtypes, the majority of our facilities are polyclinics and pharmacies, as you can see. Then there are hospitals and less on more of the specialized health centers. In terms of health professional growth, we've started with about 17,000 in 2011, and that moved very fast, about 109% growth over 10 years to almost 64,000 of the healthcare professionals that come from all around the world. These are examples of some of the big facilities in the UAE that started in a foreign country and opened their very first facility in the UAE. For example, Mediclinic opened in 2008. It came from a division from Switzerland and South Africa. Dubai was the first presence for them in the Middle East, and now they have about 4 hospitals and 13 clinics in UAE. Faqih Hospital opened in 2020. It came from Saudi Arabia, and it's the first presence outside Saudi Arabia. And King's College Hospital was the first hospital, the first time to open in the region was in Dubai. It has about 3 hospitals in Dubai already. We are also a thriving market when it comes to pharmaceutical industries. These are some of the big highlights of the industries that we have, and it's about $6.8 billion growth in 2025. Telehealth, as I said, it started in the pandemic. There were I remember I was leading the telehealth industry in the UAE when I first joined the health regulation. And when I did my first evaluation in the UAE, there were 19 telehealth providers, 19. And the majority of them were pharmaceutical, which means they do delivery. So it's not the real telehealth that we were looking for. Obviously, we've prepared the evaluation. We did the very first standard on telehealth, emphasizing on virtual healthcare. And that was just before the pandemic, creating that infrastructure, that beginning, in harmony when the COVID hit in, which was lessons for everyone. The peak has increased dramatically. So you can see in 2020, it moved up to 30 facilities, which was 19 in 2019. And now we have up to 140 facilities and providers. The majority of those are add-ons, so about 86% are add-ons, as in you have a hospital or a clinic, and you add on the virtual healthcare facility. 4% are standalones. It means a standalone facility that provides only virtual healthcare. And 10% are either platforms or aggregators. And you can see that there's an increase in number of teleconsultations and teleprescriptions over telehealth. And now that we have mandated insurance, this is projected to increase even further. And this is the projections. A growth in teleconsultation, we're expecting to increase even more by 26%, and the same thing with the prescriptions. When it comes to the expenditure, we have over 4.9 million insured members by the government and the private sector. So insurance is mandated in the UAE, whether you are a resident or non-resident. If you want to have healthcare, you're expected to have some insurance coverage in order to get everything done very smoothly. So 100% of our populations is insured. It's about 3.45 billion euro gross claims value that we have, and about 97.22 million submitted claims. And when we're talking about secondary data, this is some of the data that we've been using through that e-claim systems that we have. When it comes to health tourism, we have a growth from 674 to 691,000 in 2023, and we're considered the first Arab city in the world to improve in the number of the health tourism in the UAE, and we're still projecting that equals same growth down the line as well. The projected growth is reaching nearly 290 million euros in 2025. Which areas are we looking at? We're looking into dermatology in particular and skincare. A lot is going on in dentistry, gynecology, orthopedic, ophthalmology, health and wellness, and now fertility. I would like to speak about our health information system, and I know this is something going on in Estonia when it have the integrated healthcare system that we have. So ours in Dubai itself is called NABD, and we have one in Abu Dhabi as well, and we have one at the federal level, and they are all supposed to be talking to each other. So if you are in Dubai and you have the NABD system, which means if you visit one hospital, let's say the American hospital, and you get a test done, and you visit another hospital, they're able to see your data and follow up to continue that continuity of care, and you as a patient have access to your data wherever you go. So NABD is the system where it unifies the health information exchange in hospitals, clinics, diagnostic centers, health centers, and provide access to providers and patients. The reason why, obviously, we have NABD, it can provide a lot of benefits when it comes to facilities, physicians, patients, and government. It gives that clinical decision-making, continuity of care, the availability of secondary data, analysis, research. There's a lot of information that we can get from NABD, because then you get that seamless continuity of care of patients, and the patient pathway can be followed wherever the patient can go, and then patient has access to a holistic picture of what's going on with his condition. This is how the dashboard looks like at different slides when it comes to NABD, and these are monitored at a regulatory level. So in DHA, we monitor. So what happens, for example, and I'll give you just a random example, you go and see a surgeon and for whatever procedure, and the surgeon checks up your notes and opens up your mental disorder or mental history. If you had a mental history with a psychiatrist, and he opens up, we get an alert system at the regulation saying, why did he have access to this? If he's a surgeon, why does he need to look into that, for example? And he will have to verify and explain why did he need that particular information, because we want to ensure that there is privacy in terms of the data that is being shared. Who is actually having access to that data, and who's seeing it, and what are the reasons behind it? NABD numbers is covering at the moment 58 hospitals in the UAE, 1,378 clinics, and about 13 labs. That's up to date, and this is increasing continuously. We about 9.78 billion unified medical records. All of these data that you see over here is in millions. And you'd be surprised, I think, when I first saw those numbers, I was like, we are 3.4 million in the UAE. How did we get that 9.78 million? And the reason for that is the UAE is always open in terms of cross-border. So what we're doing is, if patients come on board, let's say during the pandemics, or visiting patients that are coming and having access to healthcare, we create a record for them. And therefore, this is added to the total number of records that we'll be having. And therefore, it exceeds the actual number. So we have from outside Dubai, as in the Emirates region, and people that are visiting or tourists, or during the pandemic, people that actually stayed in the UAE for some time. AI is, I made a slide on AI. Why? Because we're developing the new regulations for AI. It's going to be the first federal regulation in AI in the United Arab Emirates, and the very first within the regional, within the MENA region of the UAE. It's going to be very equivalent to the EU AI Act, but we do have certain changes to what's happening in the EU Act, and this will be released by the end of this year. So this is just a glimpse of what we're expecting to be in there. This is the UAE National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence to build a reputation on AI destination, increase in the deployment of AI. We already have AI CEOs in all sectors in the country, adopt the use of AI in all governments. So Dubai Health Authority has created their own AI strategy, and it's very similar in other authorities and other governments, and to develop a fertile ecosystem for AI. So we want to track more AI technologies. We want to ensure that there's enough training when it comes to AI. Everybody has a good understanding of AI, and ensure there's strong governance when it comes to AI. And earlier on, there were some talks about AI, and I was like there with my antenna up. I was like, yeah, I'd like to hear about AI and what's going on. And I think the importance is to have a lot of awareness on AI, and that's what we've been doing in Dubai Health Authority. We want to increase the awareness, especially in public usage, to ensure that we have covered shared risks shared rewards and shared opportunities. We all need to be involved together. And I think someone in the panel said earlier as well that patients need to understand where is that data going and what happens when I share that data and what do I learn from that data, because that's like a simple fundamental requirement. And the way I would describe AI is, to me, AI is like a mirror, and it reflects either our biases or our willingness to change, because we eventually put in that data in that AI system that we're using. So one of the important things that we're going to do in AI when it comes to the foundation is to improve the capabilities of the people who are using the AI and the end users. There are other areas in the AI that we are covering, but I've highlighted healthcare as one of the main pillars when it comes to the AI strategy. These are some of the considerations that we're looking for in the regulations. So that's a sneak peek of what will be in the regulations. We want to ensure that there is a secure AI infrastructure to adherence to the NESA AI standards, so ensuring a lot of cybersecurity measures and privacy elements. There is a Dubai Seal, which is a new certification that's happening in Dubai Digital, where we would look and seal and certify any AI platform, AI tool, AI app that comes into the country. And we want to ensure that there is responsible AI deployment in terms of the AI ethical principles that has to be there. These are mandated in the requirements. And obviously, upskilling the existing professionals so that training is required, safety officers are required, and that sort of considerations. And then I thought I'll focus on some of the areas that we're looking for in Dubai governments. If somebody's going to come and bring in AI technology, what is the interest that's happening in Dubai? So in Dubai government, we are looking to develop any AI diagnosis-based tools that would support cancer. Cancer was one of the, or oncology was one of the standards that we released last year. And we have done massive changes, and we want to see how AI can support in the diagnosis of cancer and supports healthcare professionals. Diabetes is one of the growing chronic burden diseases in the UAE. It's very common, type 2 diabetes. And dementia is one of the conditions that we have in the UAE that is happening at a younger age. I haven't written it over there, but I've also noticed a big burden when it comes to MS. Multiple sclerosis is very common in the UAE, and Parkinson's disease, which happens at a young age population in the UAE. So these are the areas of interest when it comes to the government. They're working a lot with research. They want to see how AI can support this. And they want to look into how they can monitor patients at home, so wearables and technologies that can support patient monitoring while they're away. In the private sector, they have a different look. So the private sector have adopted a lot of the AI diagnostic tools. They want to look into more improving the accuracy of detecting diseases like AI-driven medical imaging that they're looking for. They want to see how they can add AI into telemedicine and being able to actually monitor and support in the diagnosis and data management, and how they can automate the process of hospital management and operations. Abu Dhabi is working more with the gene therapy and genomics. So the Department of Health in Abu Dhabi has an AI-powered population health intelligence framework, which was announced in the Global Health Week in 2025 this year. And the goal is to improve public health through predictive insights and proactive interventions. So they want to predict by creating a digital twin of Abu Dhabi to detect how anomalies can be used by AI and integrated data, and then how can they prevent and improve outcomes. At the federal level, which is the UAE level, we're looking into more of analytical dashboards. They want to know what's happening at the UAE level, what are the predictive models, how sort of automation we're looking for, and how can we create an interactive tool. And I wrote some of the initiatives that we already have happening in the UAE, such as the health crisis management. This has been implemented this year. It's a system where we follow emergency patients, disaster management, and it's a dashboard where they can see what's happening. Previously, or lessons learned in the pandemic, the ambulance would collect the patient from home and wouldn't know to which hospital it would go. would randomly go to the nearest hospital, or is it the hospital that covers that particular insurance, or is the patient's choice? Now we have a dashboard where they can work together. Okay, I'm going to skip through it very fast. Hayat is the organ donation system. We've started organ donation heavily in the UAE. It's another area of interest because it's very new, and we're looking at how to implement data in it and traceability of the organ donation. And there are other ways, other things that they have used here. I'm going to skim very fast on the last few slides. Encouragement of investors to come to the UAE. Why? Because 100% is foreign ownership. We have a very seamless online process when it comes to either licensing or as a professional or as a system or as a platform or as a facility opening. And you have the choice of either partnering with existing facilities or taking over those existing facilities. These are some of the headlines that we have seen in the UAE. For example, I'm sure you've all heard of Trump's visit to the UAE and Saudi Arabia to build a 10 square mile AI campus in Abu Dhabi with a 5 gigawatt capacity of AI data center. And about 15 million, that's in dirhams, so about 3.4 million euros that has been invested only on research when it comes to AI technologies and supporting startups. And we're also working on building the AI as an open AI center where we have access to all the population to have the whole ChatGPT plus subscription. So this is the last slide. Moving forward from more proactive to predictive care, tools that enhance rather than replace physicians, precision medicine, and hyper-personalized treatments such as using genomics. So we're shifting now to more hospitals at home, supporting patients while they're at home, more of the value-based clinics and increasing patients' clinical pathways, AI in hospitals, remote clinics, and gene therapy. And let me add to that is TCAM, which is traditional medicine, complementary medicine. This is not there. It's not even announced in the UAE yet, but that's the next thing that we're going to be regulating next year. So technologies in that is not yet available because it's never been regulated, but now it's going to become part of the regulatory system to encourage longevity and long-term care and holistic approach to medicine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I think this is inspirational. We will have, if you have one clarifying question, I can allow this now, but I certainly had a list of things that I would like to follow up later on. So if I don't see these questions right now, then please take a seat, and then I will invite other members of the panel. Piret from the, what's the English term? It's the Estonian Business and Innovation Agency. And covering this region, but also a few others. And then we have also, and now we have also Walid, who is, what happened? Wrong button again. Lunch? Too early? Okay, I'll put this away, so I won't touch it right now. Okay, so I don't know. You tell me. Yeah, maybe you can press the right button, and then we'll continue here. I want this guy on the. I want Walid with us. Hello, Walid.
Hello.
And we have also Taavi. Taavi from Nortal, Walid from BeeHealthy. Two companies, Taavi, an Estonian representative, Walid, a Finnish representative, but actually they both have been in the region for quite some time, though they will tell how it looks kind of from inside. What does it take for a Nordic thing to actually thrive in what we just heard in an otherwise already very thriving environment? The idea is that you can freely choose your first 3 to 5 messages within 3 to 5 minutes, how to open your story personally as well as in relation to the region. But I hope that we have the next 54 minutes really in an interactive discussion and understanding what can we start doing right after we finish here. So, Piret, maybe you can start from your part.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you for this great invitation to be here with you today. And good afternoon to everybody here. About Estonian Business and Innovation Agency, it is actually a public sector organization, and the goal of the organization is to increase Estonia's awareness globally, but also to develop entrepreneurship and to support our everyday living environment. So when going more into detail as to exporting and investments, we cover 15 countries globally where we have our boots on the ground, so to say. So people there present who really has the market knowledge locally. And now when looking into Gulf region, we have our own export advisor working in Dubai, but also simultaneously covering other countries in the region. So mostly currently the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And how we can enhance export or exporting companies of Estonia, it is to provide different services from our side and to engage companies to come and check what are the services available. So the most common ones are business missions to countries, also being there a part of trade fairs, trade shows, but also providing different research programs or sharing ideas and knowledge about how to protect your trademark, and really it's a wide variety of services. Personally, I can say that I'm really attracted by the Gulf region. I really like it. You say and ask why. What I really like about it is the energy and increasing power of business opportunities, and also people working there and the partners. If you start to work together with them, they are absolutely very, very nice people. To Dr. Khulood, I really enjoyed your presentation, and as a comment to your presentation, it is really wide possibilities, wide opportunities in the market to explore. So I hope that all of us can share a bit of our enthusiasm with all of you here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Piret. So, Taavi, if you may take the floor next, and there is a disclaimer. The reason why I am thrilled about the region has to do with Taavi. He introduced me the idea and then also gave the opportunity to work there. But your history to that region goes back quite a few years, and not just in healthcare, so that I think you can, analyze this opportunity from many angles. So please feel free to introduce yourself and your relationship with the region.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to be present on this panel and share with the wider audience what the opportunities are and might be, and also thank you very much for the very informative presentation. I think, or maybe very briefly about me, and then I'll have a couple of comments quickly. So yeah, my personal history with the Gulf is a little bit more than 10 years. I think my first trip to Dubai and Muscat was around 12, 13 years ago, and that's our business as Nortal in the region has been going on for 15 years, so some time. We have had very different experiences in different countries, but I think the underlying joint denominator also was very nicely presented in the opening slides today for the region. So the level of ambition. So I think that the level of ambition is massive And coming from a smaller country like Estonia, I think in addition to the level of ambition, we are also attracted to the scale. So even though, let's say, Dubai as a city in terms of population is not so much bigger than Estonia, but in terms of what the ambition is in the regional level, the scale is larger. So I think for companies and also just experts coming from Estonia or regional countries here, we are attracted to this combination of scale and ambition, and that what creates the kind of willingness and interest among companies to invest. I think while it's sometimes perhaps easier to focus on the differences, and of course there are quite important differences between, let's say, Estonia and UAE, or Estonia and Saudi Arabia, or etc. I would perhaps draw a little bit more attention to the similarities. So in a way we can say that let's say Estonia or most of the countries in the Gulf have gone through an extremely rapid transformation in the last 50 years. So I think where we are very similar is that there is this kind of a hunger, or not only hunger, but also experience of success of rapid transformation. And I think especially when we are sometimes perhaps talking amongst ourselves in Estonia, that we sometimes miss the good old days of fast innovation, because we feel that we are now more evolved, and the pace of innovation has slowed down. So that creates the attraction, and I think this two-way street of sharing experience, sharing best practices between the Nordic Baltic region and the Gulf benefits both to keep this innovation engine and the pace of innovation going, because I would even say that there is a healthy level of competition, which is making both of the countries better. So I would rather look at what are the similarities between us, and how to use those similarities. Of course, differences have to be accounted for as well, and perhaps we can talk about that later today. Thank you.
Thank you, Taavi. And last but not least, Walid, you are a man, well, I understand, born and raised in the region, yet now being hired by a Nordic company. And to my best knowledge, one of the most successful Nordic origin kind of health tech companies who has already embraced this transformation, as well as understanding what telemedicine brings as an opportunities. So tell us a little bit, how does it feel, and how easy or difficult it is to fit, well, the culture, the spirit, and the technology and the opportunities from the Nordic to the region, based on your experience, and maybe also a few words about BeeHealthy by yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you. First of all, privileged to be joining this session. As you had mentioned, I'm born and raised in the region, but have lived internationally abroad and worked in the tech space in North America and Europe, with a big focus on bringing some of that technology into the region, having that local expertise and language and culture. And I think I've had the chance to see the kind of the tech ecosystems in both the Nordics and Middle East, and it really does clearly show that both regions have that deep ambition, but they do approach it very differently. So while there are significant similarities, I think some of those differences in the approach is what's creating this very exciting opportunity. The Middle East already really appreciates and recognizes the credibility of the Nordic regions and technologies and innovations that have happened there. So it's great that this session is taking place, because it is really primed for organizations to partner with organizations in the region and take advantage of that. that openness that Dr. Khulood had already spoken about. BeeHealthy is essentially a digital front door patient engagement platform. So we are a software provider having over 20 years in digital, as you mentioned, in the Nordics, via Mehiläinen and Meliva. So many of you have maybe used the technology, and the application is a white labeled brand. Very interestingly, had attracted international organizations across Europe, Africa, and Middle East who wanted to replicate what had taken place in Finland, or what has succeeded in Finland. So we came with a very strong technology that was, one would assume ready to to launch, and very quickly learned that things are very different. The Middle East will challenge you, and in a very good way. The ambitious pace that we've seen just in the first few years has really allowed our technology and us as a company to expand and evolve. And I think today's panel is really a focus on trying to bring up some of those discussions and seeing how we can share our experiences to work together.
Thank you. So now that you have heard what opportunities are, where the trains are heading, also that there is, I know, not just from Estonia, but all other Nordic Baltic countries as well, support from the government to find ways to make collaboration happen in between these regions. And then also two people, real people, but you see, they're not here, they're there, because so many things are happening there. That is real. I do have questions that I have prepared, but actually I thought that maybe I will give the opportunity to the audience to get your questions or comments to what you just have heard, either to the presentation by Dr. Khulood or the others. Sven, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So just to kick us off, so there's a running joke when we're talking about technology implementation that while US and China are actually developing technologies and developing business models, the EU regulates. So what is your take on that when you see that from the Gulf area, and it gives the or shows the distance between those economies. I'm not saying that there's a right or a wrong way. As Europeans, we fully understand the AI Act, the need for GDPR and all those things. And on the other hand, we also understand why US and China are doing things differently. So what is sort of your take, if you have any insights on that?
Thank you. Great question. I think we can start from Dr. Khulood, but then also from all the others. So you alluded that you are preparing AI Act, and then you said you are looking for what Europe is doing, but then I kind of heard that you might not do exactly the same way. So maybe you can elaborate what it is, what you learn, and what it is, what you do differently, at least, maybe better.
Thank you for your question. When it comes to the UAE, we do have a different view when it comes, for example, to Dubai or the capital, Abu Dhabi. So in Dubai, we foster innovation. It's, I think, the city of innovation. We want to see that wow factor. You have to come up with something really that turns head and say, wow, this is something that we want to implement and makes a change, particularly if it's something that would make a change to a condition or a change in the way of a pathway of a patient's journey within the context of the GCC or the UAE. So if you come down to me in healthcare and you come up with an innovation and you say, this is what I want to bring to the UAE, and then I realize this is not regulated. So it's not going to stop and close doors and say, listen, this is not in the regulations, we're not able to do this. How we work is we adapt. If it's going to work, let's do a proof of concept. Let's make it happen. Let's make it work. And then I can go ahead and then alter those documents and those regulations or add it up. So regulations never hindered the process of innovation when it comes in Dubai. So whether we're talking about stem cell, gene therapy, AI, any sort of technology that comes our way, we're open to it despite that the regulation is not there. Now, having that regulation was a study of an evaluation and an insight of what we have been seeing in the market overall in the UAE. And what had come our way, and what can we do in order to regulate and ensure safety comes first to our patients, but not hindering technology. So yes, we want more and more to invest. We don't want to stop it from happening. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we still have that control and that safety element. Now, in Abu Dhabi, the control is a little bit more. It's a bit different approach. The regulations are a bit more stricter when it comes, especially to technology. So they start with being a little bit more strict and then letting it off a little bit as time goes by and realizing, okay, this can work. But in Dubai, it's the other way around. We do take risks more and allowing things to happen. So we do process like, for example, a proof of concept first, or let's do it under research. Let's see how this would work. And then we open the regulations for it. I don't know if this answers the question, but we're kind of learning from what's happening in the West, what's happening in the East. Most of the time, we can create our own regulations. We don't want to copy-paste what's happening in the EU or the US. We want to create our own regulation that tailors the needs of our society. So Dubai is ready for openness and creating innovation. Let's do that and see how the regulation is going to support that rather than hinder the process.
Thank you. I do have a follow-up question, but before that, let's take at least 2 comments from the field. Because, well, this is what, regulators always say, well, we're nice people, we do nice things to you, but how does it feel if you're actually trying to implement that? How can you second that? And then I will add one step further. So here in Europe, we sometimes struggle in terms of trying to agree across all 27 member states because we want to create this large market. So both BeeHealthy and Nortal are active in more than one country. So can you resonate on that? So how and you see the similarities and differences in terms of regulating this tough market? Walid, you can go.
Walid, please.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think Sven, I think the question was from Sven. It's actually a very interesting comment that you make. I think it does come from maybe a little bit of a valid approach that there is a lot of competition and there's a lot of attention to all of technologies from all over the world, focusing on this region. I think the opportunity, let's say the challenge at the beginning is that these are all built based on maybe tech-driven versus real business outcome, patient health-driven innovation. So while a lot of these new technologies that we're seeing might seem at the high level very interesting, they're very exciting, they have the wow factor that Dr. Khulood mentioned, I think the region absolutely recognizes the excitement of that and is open to look at that. But in reality, on the ground, I see a lot of scrutiny come into, but what's it going to do for us? How has this worked? Is it safe? Is it proven? And especially with healthcare providers, who are our primary customers, we have to go through a lot of checks and credibility to be able to justify, what solutions we're proposing. And having your opportunity again come in from the heavy regulation that takes place in Europe, while I recognize can be a little bit of a challenge to innovation, it does bring a lot of credibility. It does bring a lot of, as a software organization, a lot of control that we have to do, which makes it very easy to then meet EU regulation, GCC regulations, UAE regulations, and really prove the value of our solution versus just something that's very exciting coming out of regions very, very quickly.
Thank you. Taavi, you want to comment? How does it look?
Yes. Well, maybe I would bring a different frame. I think a little bit following up on what Walid was saying. That so especially I think that innovation conferences, such as perhaps today, there's a lot of focus on regulating the new technologies. Is it allowed? Is it not allowed? And I think as many of the startups and new technology implementers perhaps know, this is of course only part of the game. The much more important question very often is the payment model. Like what is the financial model behind? First of all, yes, it's allowed, but very often the patients themselves don't have the means or sometimes motivation to pay for these new things. Again, maybe connected to what Walid was referring to. Is it really a value-based thing? And I think in the GCC, when entering the market from our region, there is the third element as well, which is the overall setup of the healthcare system. So I think in this, let's say, view, UAE is much more mature. So as we also saw from the presentation earlier, the kind of, let's say, universal insurance, which is partly covered by the government, partly by the employers, has been in place for quite some time, and the regulators have had time to work on this to optimize it. But at the same time, for example, in Saudi Arabia, which is the biggest market in the region, there's a massive change going on at the moment in terms of how the market operates. And while there have been like many regulations or kind of goals have been published, I think what has become clear to all the stakeholders, including the public sector leadership, is that the transformation will take a longer time, and I think it's still unclear what will be the outcome of that transformation. So we have different aspects of the transformation, and the markets are also at the different stages of maturity, and UAE here definitely is a leader in terms of maturity.
Thank you. Piret, you want to comment regarding kind of this regulatory environment, coming from a heavily regulated, but as we heard from Walid, maybe it prepares you also from the region. Is this something that you also have encountered when companies are going to this market?
Yes, exactly. This is what I wanted to point it out, that this is where our expert advisors can step in and can be of great support and help to understand the environment. And really, especially talking about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, it's correct to say that the legislation changes very, very rapidly. So when you start a business there, you should be all the time hands-on with what is going on. So to follow news, to follow what's happening. And one step further, if you are already there, and I'm now talking about like globally in the meaning that different sectors, not only health sector, but my advice here it is that if you are there more or less established already, or you have your plans ready to be there, have a local partner or local person there to support you to navigate through this massive amount of regulations. It goes both ways to Saudi Arabia, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, but also about United Arab Emirates, to learn more about the market.
Okay, thanks. So the take home is that it's not Wild West, so it's regulated. The challenge is that it's evolving fast, which also means that these regulations tend to change, whereas we just heard in the previous session that we also have regulations now. There are clear deadlines to meet. So hopefully we can also implement those. I recall there was maybe a hand up over there.
Yes, I'm representing also Enterprise Estonia, or Innovation and Business Agency, and especially Applied Research team. And we have a lot of health tech companies that are our direct clients, and we consult them in different projects. The question is related to what we heard from speakers from the screen about the challenges when you go into this market. And also Taavi mentioned about differences that maybe you can highlight. What are the, let's say, main differences when you enter this market compared to what you've used to in maybe Europe or other markets? And what kind of, let's say, recommendation you have for other health tech companies or tech companies entering that market?
Yeah.
Yeah, Walid,
Taavi,
go ahead,
would you like
please.
to-
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a number of key things that tend to kind of, I think, always be repeated. So luckily we kind of know what these challenges are, and they are things that you can get ahead of and avoid. And I think one of the big ones is, not underestimating the localization and really the local knowledge that you need for your solution. A lot of organizations have succeeded in Europe and the West and think that they can copy paste that directly into the GCC, but there are significant differences in how patients will work with technology and how organizations operate. And I think understanding that is key. And the way to do that, also to second one of the speakers, is having a local partner. You cannot look at the Middle East or the GCC as one also solution, that you can have one approach for every country. There are unique differences. As Taavi had mentioned, regulations are at a very different maturity. So really having specialized partners in each of those countries helps you get that local knowledge, stay on top of what's happening, and is really critical to build that trust and credibility. And maybe one last thing before I push over to Taavi as well is it takes time. The Middle East has a kind of a paradox of speed, but also patience. When we want to run and decisions want to be made and people want to invest in the technology, that can move very quickly. But I think it takes a significant time to build that trust and invest in the country to create credibility for yourself to get to get into the right room and get into the right place to succeed. So definitely have the right patience, invest properly in the country. Just maybe visiting once a year does not really allow for success. Try to understand that local requirement or challenge as much as possible, and adapt the product in a way that's necessary to support the local market.
Thank you. Taavi.
I think we actually just had a very similar discussion on a different industry yesterday, and my comment was that, of course, completely agree with also what Walid was saying about localization and the need not to underestimate those requirements. I think having run Nortal's business in Germany before the Middle East, I would say that going to the German market in some ways I would say is comparable for at least Estonian companies. So we perhaps understand of the cultural context a little bit more, but of course language and everything else still is different. Regulation is somewhat different. So always there's this investment of understanding the local setup, understanding the local traditions and regulations. So that's a given for any market. I think Walid already brought up the point of having a local partner. I think for many, especially smaller companies, it's not viable to set up your own organization, especially in all the markets, because they also are different. So finding partners that trust you and that you can trust can take time. And then, of course, the sales cycle. So I would say overall, while in case you are at the right time, at the right moment with specific technology or innovation, it can move very fast. But I would say rather be ready for a longer sales cycle. So generally things will take time. Decisions take time. And I think that's the reality. Maybe one thing I would highlight is that in all the GCC markets, there is a very clear and strong push to internalize innovation, internalize experience, internalize knowledge, meaning that there are incentives or at least preferences for companies and vendors who employ local citizens, who have programs to train local citizens. So you might have requirements in certain public tenders of a certain level of, let's say, Emiratization or Saudization or Romanization, and I think one of the kind of key success factors for companies coming from outside the region is to strike the correct balance there. So like how to achieve the correct level of localization also in your team, so that you are aligned with the goals of, because all the countries have, I think in some ways, similar goals to, build up the industry, to build up the ecosystem, to provide high value add jobs for the local citizens. And you have to take this as one of the, let's say, decision factors or value factors when it's not only about the technology, it's not only about the healthcare outcome, but it's also about what is your contribution as a company to the local economy. So I think striking that balance, if you're able to be successful, that can be one factor for you to succeed.
Thank you, Taavi. You actually made a very good intro to my follow-up that I wanted to now bring to you, Dr. Khulood, once again, is that we have here now pretty much a similar, representatives from the Nordic Baltic governments in a kind of similar role as you have. And then the question would be, how do you see the role of the government in driving the innovation? Because we've heard that, okay, well, governments can do regulations, right? Okay, they can fund certain things. And yet, then we hear that the companies who are then trying to bring this innovation to the market, they have certain challenges. Okay, then the governments can set up agencies like Piret is representing here, which then, help just to know the market. But is there something which we could call open innovation, meaning that there is also, I don't know, collaboration or projects or, I don't know, task division, or you may choose how the governments between themselves can actually foster better and faster development in the innovation, where the governments, I don't believe, can, lead, and then the companies will follow them. Because the innovation usually comes from these crazy people who want not just to make money, but also, help people, as we have heard. So how do you see the role of the government in the region? And if you can add maybe something also in relation to collaboration between the governments in the region, and then do you see the collaboration between the governments of, GCC region or the one that you represent yourself, and then the governments here or government agencies? Yeah. Is there a way to make these two regions thrive? We are still small. I mean, altogether, if we compare to China or South America or Africa, we're small. So how can we thrive better if we work together?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to answer this question, but I wanted to also give some practical advice, because I support some, or I come across a lot of companies that come and present. Just to answer your question, I agree with what my colleagues have said earlier. They need to come in with a purpose. It makes a huge difference if it's aligned with our strategic pillars. So if you come in and bring in a presentation of what you're offering, align it with the UAE. Align it with one of our strategic pillars. Why does it make sense that you bring it to the UAE? Make the presentations simple and to the point. I came across presentations that are like 30 slides, and a lot of them are very technical. And those people who actually read the slides may not come from a technical background and are lost. Keep it simple and to the point. And the companies that I've been advising that did this made a huge difference. To have an advisor in the market is very important, because they will make the right connections and with the right partner, because most of the new technologies that come our way would probably need a POC to prove that it's going to work in our region the same way that's working, for example, in Estonia. So these are some of the practical examples I'm going to give. Now, to answer Ain's question, the federal level, or let's say different regulatory levels in the UAE. So we have the Dubai Health Authority in Dubai, and Abu Dhabi has the healthcare department. We work together, we align if we're looking at a project at a strategic level, a big project that's going to impact the whole Emirates together. For example, this new AI regulation that we're doing, we work together to implement a body where we have stakeholders from different government entities working on developing a particular document or particular initiatives. Stem cells is another example. So if you come in with a stem cell treatment to the UAE, that is not currently regulated, or let's say it's something that is under research, or even something that we regulate and is available for treatment. The way it works over here in the UAE, you approach whichever government entity that you are that you will implement it in. For example, if it's going to be in Dubai, it's going to be Dubai Health Authority. Dubai Health Authority will not make the decision itself. It's going to take the proposal and discuss it at the federal level. So I'm going to take that stem cell proposal, discuss it with the different representatives from the different entities, such as EDE, Emirates Drug Establishments, Ministry of Health, Department of Health Abu Dhabi, and say, this is the new technology, or this is the new stem cell therapy that we're going to discuss. What do you think? Is it something we're going to be implementing or not? And then it's going to be a collective decision-making. If you approach a government entity directly, you come into DHA directly with a technology, yes, we will listen. We will advise you on the right track, but we will not be able to collaborate at a high level. We regulate, we do not collaborate. Collaboration would work with the private sector. And most of the private sector would want a proof of concept, and they would want some sort of partnership between the hospitals and the universities, so that there can be some white paper or some evidence that is done in the region for them to adopt the technology. They will ask and see, is this approved by Dubai Health Authority? So therefore, this is where we want that link with the strategic visions that we have. So if you bring in a technology that, first of all, has a purpose, and it is kind of approved in your country. So I came, for example, one technology was a portable MRI that came to DHA directly, and from a certain country from around the world. And I told them, is this regulated in your country? And they said no. But we are willing to have it in the UAE and see if it's going to be regulated in the UAE. It doesn't work like that. The UAE is still in the very early stages to actually decide on something that is not being regulated in somewhere else to have it regulated in the UAE. It's not going to work like that. If it's something that has been worked, for example, in Estonia, and maybe they had other places like in Latvia or somewhere else, and then they come to the UAE, I was like, okay, you've worked somewhere, it has proven there, let's see if it's going to work in the UAE, and that's where you come in. So something that's completely new, completely new, will have to go under a proof of concept or under research before we actually adopt it. And if it goes with our strategic pillars, if it goes with the center of attention, this one I mentioned, TCOM, next year, traditional medicine, this is the focus. This is where we would be looking for what's happening out there, not a couple of years later when we already implemented the technologies. So the timing makes a huge difference in the government sector. We would be interested to see what's happening. There is a website, I'm happy to share with all of you, where we put in what are the main projects and where you can bid and bring in your technology. And we also have the private sector is always open to partner and see where we can bring in. And the UAE has also invested about 3.4 billion euros just to have startups and businesses to actually flourish in the UAE. And this is not going to happen for someone who's actually residing outside and coming to visit one time to one of our big conferences and expect to be a part of this. It would make sense to actually be in the country to be part of that program. Did I answer everything?
Thank you. Yeah. So what I caught from this is that the strategy, and we are currently also building, or I think the strategy baseline document is there in Estonia, but now the implementation plan is to happen. So that the strategy, as I read, is something which the governments actually can use as a serious tool. Well, Taavi, of course, mentioned that sometimes things do not go, as fast as you would like to. But then the collaboration bit would, as I assume, work in such a way that, okay, if certain thing has served well citizens, and there is proof that it works in certain country, then also supporting the companies and organizations who have been able to deliver that in one's own country, any of those Baltic Nordic countries. This could be utilized by that company when going to the other markets. So again, and in this way, I understand that actually being knowledgeable about the strategies of different countries doesn't mean that they have to be the same, but at least maybe seeing if some parts, so for instance telemedicine, as you say, has been already established practice in the region, which I already noticed, then again that could also help the companies who have done good job in our respective countries to make them also bring this innovation to the GCC countries based on the established and proven and government supported success. We have almost exhausted our time, and I think it was Aiga. You have a question. Okay, so your question can be as long as you wish, but the response has to be brief, so that I will put the pressure on the panel here.
Sure, yeah. So I'll make it quick. First of all, thank you for the presentation. I loved it from the Dr. Khulood. I took some pictures and already sent to my ministry. I'm Vice Minister of Health from Lithuania. So congrats on that. We are a bit jealous, but it's amazing. My question is about regulations. So we are saying that in Europe we are too slow and too overprotective, over-regulating. Meanwhile, for example, in Europe, UAE, you are fast adapting and making changes fast. But we know that private sector don't want it slow, and sometimes they don't want it too fast because they need to adapt to all the changes. Can each of you name one country of today that you would say as innovator is the best for the innovators? So yeah, just one word, one country or region that has the best regulation for the innovators.
Okay.
Very biased. I was going to say when it comes to innovation in the UAE, we're very impressed with Estonia, and I'm not being biased. Quite a unicorn when it comes to the innovations. In terms of regulations, we are using Denmark as a benchmark.
So let's add next countries to the roster, and you can't say Estonia anymore. So.
That's tricky then. I think I wanted to say Estonia because I think the special thing about Estonia, or perhaps Latvia, Lithuania, or Finland, is that the number of people involved is very small. So you are able to get to the decision makers very, very fast. I think in bigger countries that filter is much more difficult to break. I would say UAE. Also, I think if you really align with what the country's strategy is, you are able to get to the right place. So nothing. I don't have any other country to kind of mention, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. So, Walid.
Yeah, tricky one to add much more, but I mean, we hate to say it, but I think a lot of innovation comes out of North America, and I don't know if that's really because of regulation or because of the amount of funding that's available to accelerate it. But of course, it seems like they have the world as a possible approach, and that does trickle down, I think, to the rest of the world. So maybe there's something to look at there.
Okay, thanks. Piret, do you want to name?
Yeah, I would put it this way, that from the region, from the Gulf region, I would put my finger on United Arab Emirates. The reason why, I give it reason very quickly. The reason why is that after Expo in Dubai, it was a really great push for companies to start their business there. Also, the environment, business environment plus regulations started to let's say, build on these practices. Although there are also difficulties, like mentioned before, that there is like governmental level and also local levels to follow. But still, I would put it United Arab Emirates from the region. Outside the region, globally, looking at Estonia was mentioned already, so I cannot take it anymore. Sorry for that. But probably I would point it like in general more EU, in the meaning that not all the regulations, but part of the regulations still cover.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And the last question will be very, very challenging because each of you has 30 minutes. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. And I wanted to actually take this idea from, I think it was Heba who said that we need to dream. So think of a 40-year-old citizen in any of the countries that you wish. It can be your country, or it can be something that you want to bring you to another country, and in 5 years' time, from your work, what do you dream that 40-year-old lady would gain? Because we're talking about, this high stuff and regulations and blah, blah, and innovation and things. But as we heard, in that region, and increasingly also in our region, what does it give to the citizens? So what is your dream in 5 years' time for a 40-year-old lady from your personal work? Who wants to go first?
I'm happy to go first. It's very interesting that you've mentioned this question because I'm currently working on at the government level on a project on longevity, and the reason I mentioned Denmark is we're actually all flying to Denmark to pitch in that idea. And I visualized myself and I said, where I want to be when I'm down the line 5, 10 years, what kind of access I want, what kind of care I need. And we wanted that balance. The things that's happening in our country, things are moving very fast. And sometimes you want to slow back and have that balance to take care of yourself. We want to be able to live longer, but healthy at the same time. We want to be able to take care of ourselves and be empowered to be able to recognize and our bodies and how we can support each other, support ourselves. And we want to be able to have access to healthcare wherever we are, and not just equal access to hospitals, no, but equal outcomes and equal quality of care. I think this is the project I'm working on.
Thank you.
Hopefully it's...
Another 30 seconds. Who wants to go next?
I'll do a quick, perhaps simplified and maybe popular in the room opinion. I think Estonia is a wonderful place, and maybe not only because of the healthcare system, but more because of the living environment. So I think it's a key element of how to be healthy long term, and I think we have a wonderful environment for that.
Thank you. Walid?
Yep, being 40, I can think of what I'm looking for in 5 years. But I think absolutely it's a little bit of what both touched on. And really what I've been focusing on with BeeHealthy is allowing the citizen, the patient, to take ownership of their own health, be that access, be that the right knowledge, their own 360 personal view of their health and their data. I think is really going to lead to us living healthier lives. And I think it's amazing. Countries like Singapore, like Estonia are implementing national initiatives that will allow and encourage the citizens to do that. And the UAE is really embracing a big part of that. So very excited to be living here, and hope that continues around the world because we all need it.
Thanks. And Piret, your dream?
I don't want to sound too diplomatic here, but in my opinion, it's really important to be where your family is, in the meaning that where your family is, and also a place where there is enough healthcare for people around you, and good living conditions, also climate conditions, which are becoming more and more important in nowadays world. So, like Taavi, I would definitely vote for Estonia or wider, like Nordics in general.
Thank you. And so my personal dream is that in 5 years' time, every 40-year-old person or any other year-old person has more hope for themselves, for their loved ones around them, but also hope for actually living healthy and, well, as interesting lives as we have had here for the last close to 100 minutes. So give the applause to the panel, and the lunch is waiting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bon appetit.
Yeah, correct. So we'll meet back here in 15 minutes after 2. So take your time to eat and network as well.